Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. And wow, things are really starting to heat up between Xbox, PlayStation, and of course, the ongoing Activision Blizzard acquisition that we've been talking about pretty much all year long. The drama is officially here. Now there's a lot of moving parts for this buyout, especially in terms of regulations. We all know this. But I'll tell you one thing, Jim Ryan, PlayStation boss Jim Ryan, is not happy, and he's now made it personal with a public response directed at Phil Spencer. Call this whining from Jim, call this a temper tantrum, call it what you want. But this here is flat out bizarre and just a ridiculous stance by Sony, and I'm going to explain exactly why here in just a little bit. I know one thing though, this ongoing drama that Sony keeps injecting into this acquisition, it's getting old, and it's getting old quick, considering the blatant hypocrisy of their allegations. That's really ultimately the problem here. I don't have a problem with PlayStation itself. I don't have a problem with PlayStation games or them making their own games exclusive. The problem is the hypocrisy of this statement. It's an issue, so we're going to go over that a little bit later on in the video. Of course, we do have some other things to talk about today, including some Xbox Game Pass news. That's always a lot of fun, so make sure to stay tuned for that, as well as some other fun topics. Per usual though, if you do find yourself enjoying the video, do me a favor and hit those buttons below. Like, subscribe, and of course hit that bell notification for more videos just like this. I truly and genuinely do appreciate you all. Let's go and get to the news though, starting off with CD Projekt Red as they continue to make the rounds this week. Of course, they had that Cyberpunk showcase just the other day. We talked all about that, which is all good and everything. Maybe that expansion will renew some interest in that particular game, but there's also some questions regarding the franchise that really put them on the map in the first place. And yeah, we're talking about The Witcher. Now, we might still be years away from The Witcher 4, we'll wait patiently for that, but they are dropping some little inklings of news here and there. In fact, today they confirmed that the next mainline Witcher game is being planned as the second saga that will include multiple games. So, there it is. I think there was already some belief that this might be the case, but kind of think of it as a similar situation to franchises like Gears of War or even something like Halo. There was those original trilogies that completed their stories, and then after that they just kind of moved on to their second sagas with Gears of War 4 and Halo 4 respectively. So we'll kind of see how all this works out with The Witcher. But in the meantime, because, I mean, we're still years away before we actually get to play the next mainline Witcher entry. But well, they did also reiterate today that the next generation version of The Witcher 3 is still indeed on track to release sometime in 2022. Now, they're still not giving us an exact release date, but, I mean, there's really only like 3 or so months left of the year, so we should be seeing something on this game sometime here soon. And honestly, I might actually jump back in and play this game again. It's really just such a good game, and I do want to see how it runs on the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5. Next up, we do have a rumor surrounding Amy Hennig's next game with her new studio, Skydance Media. Now, we do know that it's some sort of Disney Marvel related game, as they've confirmed that much, but according to a new rumor that was found today, the exact setting and featured heroes that you might play as allegedly has leaked out online. So this is coming from Marvel Comic Universe status on Twitter, which apparently has accurately leaked some Marvel things in the past. So there is some reason to believe that this could possibly be true. Still, just kind of take this with a grain of salt until confirmed. But according to them, they say, "We have heard the new Marvel video game from Skydance Media will be a World War II set adventure featuring Captain America and Black Panther. The duo will face off against the forces of Hydra." So if what they're saying here is indeed true, I'd say this is actually an interesting premise. Now, I know there's been like a gazillion World War II games, so the setting itself isn't necessarily all that unique in the video game landscape, but being able to play as some beloved superheroes in an era like that could make it a little bit more unique. I also think it's rather interesting that it's not just featuring one character, but rather two superheroes. I mean, we have seen a lot of this in the Marvel movies as of recent, where characters, they join forces and they fight together. So I guess it shouldn't really come off as a major surprise. But if you do like Black Panther, or if you like Captain America, Or if you like both, well, you might be excited by this news. Now, admittedly, I'm not really big into the Marvel comic universe myself, as I personally think Disney has a tendency of being a little cookie cutter. That's just my opinion. But I mean, Amy Hennig, I do very much like her. I love the Uncharted games, and she does have a great resume with these narrative-driven games. So seeing her have a chance with beloved IP, I mean, it sounds like a good combination on paper. So if it does turn out well, then I'll check it out. And I do hope that's the case, especially for you fans out there. Let me know though, do you like what you're hearing here or not? Let me know in the comments below. All right, so let's just go and get to the big, juicy story of the day though. Drama. So as we all know, Microsoft, they're trying to buy Activision Blizzard, and they're of course dealing with regulators trying to get them on board and everything. But one thing that we've really been seeing over the last month or so is that Sony, they're pretty upset about this acquisition. Now, you can kind of say that they are rightfully upset about this. I mean, I wouldn't be thrilled about it, but nonetheless, this was first made evident in the Brazil documents that made their way online, where Sony basically said they cannot compete without Call of Duty. Then later on, similar remarks popped up in the UK CMA findings, prompting Xbox and Phil Spencer to make a public statement saying that they had quote-unquote provided a signed agreement to Sony to guarantee Call of Duty on PlayStation with feature content parity for at least several more years. Now, Xbox claims this is well beyond typical gaming industry agreements. So the language of this statement is rather interesting because there's not really any kind of specific exact details given here. It's basically a statement made with regulators in mind saying, hey, we're trying to work with Sony. We're the good guys here, and we've already offered in what our opinion is a good deal. Now, you may or may not agree that it's a good deal. That's certainly up for debate. But by all means, Microsoft never really had to make an offer like this in the first place. This is not a normal thing to do as you're acquiring a company and its IP. Let me just kind of rephrase it this way. Have you ever seen Sony come out and send Microsoft a similar offer like this when they acquired any number of their studios? Of course not. That's not what Sony or really any company does. But Microsoft, they want to get ahead of these regulators and give them less ammo, per se, to have issue with this buyout. They want to get this through regulations as quick as possible and with as little resistance as possible. That is a very important factor to keep in mind here. However, as we just discussed, Sony, they're adding some friction here. And apparently, Jim Ryan, PlayStation boss Jim Ryan, did not like this statement from Phil Spencer as he issued his very own response to GameIndustry.biz. And this was certainly a response. So this was reported by Christopher Dring, and great scoop by him. But let's just go and check out his response here. So Jim Ryan said, I hadn't intended to comment on what I understood to be private business discussion, but I feel the need to set the record straight because Phil Spencer brought this into the public forum. Now, it's very interesting that he directly named Phil Spencer. That's where this got really personal. More into that in here in just a second. But he continues on saying, Microsoft has only offered for Call of Duty to remain on PlayStation for 3 years after the current agreement between Activision and Sony ends. After almost 20 years of Call of Duty on PlayStation, their proposal was inadequate on many levels and failed to take account of the impact of our gamers. We want to guarantee PlayStation gamers continue to have the highest quality Call of Duty experience, and Microsoft's proposal undermines this principle. Yeah, okay, like I said, there's a lot to get into here with this, but this is a very personal and angry response from PlayStation boss Jim Ryan, which is interesting alone. Before this, they might have been arguing behind closed doors, but he's now making it a very public here, which is something that you don't typically see in the business world. To be clear, I don't think this is necessarily a good look for either company involved. On one side, you can say that maybe Microsoft is trying to mislead regulators here, but I don't think Phil Spencer's comment specifically was enough to warrant a flat-out hostile response like this. What Phil Spencer said was ultimately true by Jim Ryan's very own statement here. While Phil didn't give exact details, he did say that they sent an offer back in January to extend their contract for several more years, which was confirmed by Jim Ryan saying it was 3. Now, assuming Sony's current contract ends in 2024, with this new offer, that would guarantee Call of Duty on PlayStation with content parity, whatever that means, all the way to 2027. Now, what happens after that contract ends, that's what Jim Ryan's up in arms about. Does that mean Call of Duty will leave PlayStation after that contract is up? Well, no, not necessarily, and I don't believe that will be the case. I believe they'll keep it multi-platform as they do with Minecraft, but at the same time, there's not really a guarantee. So I do understand why Sony and Jim Ryan would fear that to a degree, but what it sounds like is that he wants a written contract that guarantees Call of Duty will remain on PlayStation forever. A perpetual contract, which is quite a demand in terms of technology. As we all know, things change fast, so having a contract like that is less than ideal for the IP holder. From my understanding, what Microsoft wants is to basically have Call of Duty on-time contracts, and then every so many years, they'll kind of get together with Sony to renew that contract in some shape or form. So that's why Sony is all angry over this, and I mean, again, I understand his concern. I understand that he wants Call of Duty to be there without question, but there's kind of the problem with Jim Ryan's entire stance. It's actually ridiculous considering the hypocrisy of his consistent statements. On one side, he's sitting here on his market-leading throne, displaying vulnerability, all while locking down major third-party exclusives like Final Fantasy, locking down beloved IP like Spider-Man, and then purchasing studios for exclusivity. It is bizarre to me how ironic his stance is. It's like, all right, we, PlayStation, can make all these popular IP exclusive to the PlayStation brand despite being the market leader. But if you try to do the same, then it's not fair. The entitlement here is the outrageous part. It's as if he wants to box somebody that can't punch back. It's like he slapped somebody and then he got slapped back and he's just kind of scratching his head. What are you doing? That's against the rules. Jim Ryan, to me, just does not want his competition to do what they're supposed to do, and that's to compete. That's the problem here. His statement rings hollow because he's been doing the exact same stuff for years and years. Give me a break with this nonsense. Now, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I do not like timed third-party exclusives for anybody, but I do understand the business side of things. What Sony is doing by locking down games like Final Fantasy, by locking down beloved IP like Spider-Man, by locking down games like Deathloop, and the list goes on, it's a smart thing. But don't come back crying when your competition fights back. It's really just that simple. It's Sony's entitlement here that makes you pause. If you're going to complain to regulators about this, I am genuinely curious on how they can explain all the exclusive content that they've locked down over the years, including, ironically, Call of Duty DLC. It's just, again, bizarre. Here's the thing, though. I don't think this is going to stop the Activision Blizzard acquisition. It might delay things, and it might even take a little longer than expected, but I think Microsoft has a good case working for them. I know they're trying to paint a pretty face and everything, and we can kind of say that Microsoft is wrong for doing things like that, but they do have years of evidence to work with, and they can easily point to how competitive the game industry is. I know regulators will be skeptical, as they should be. I mean, this is a $70 billion acquisition after all. This is to be expected, but I don't think that they have enough to work with to stand up in court. And that right there is the primary focus. They can't just make their own rules, and they can't just simply block this because Sony's not happy with things. There has to be more evidence than what has been offered so far. I don't know if there's really anything that they have proposed that will flat out block this. I think the only direction that they can really take is by taking a look into subscriptions, specifically with Xbox Game Pass, but even then, there's arguments against that. So, as always, we'll just kind of see how all this plays out. The drama is definitely a very real thing, and it's certainly, things are heating up. And I wouldn't be overly surprised if we start to see some back and forth publicly between Xbox, Microsoft, and Sony. But yeah, as always, just go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because with every little update that we get from this point forward, I, of course, will let you all know as soon as possible. Let me know what you all think about Jim Ryan's response. Do you think he has a point or not? Let me know in the comments below. Now, we do also have some Xbox Game Pass news today, some good and then some not so much. So what we'll do here is that first we'll kind of get into the unfortunate part, because we do have a few delays to talk about. I guess I'm not necessarily being precise enough here with my wording, so Jim Ryan probably doesn't like that. So for him, we're actually talking about 2 delays here. Now, both here actually are pretty high-profile games as well, the first of which is for Atomic Heart. This is a fantastic-looking first-person RPG and is set to launch launch into Game Pass day one. Now, it was originally supposed to release later this year, but however, Focus Entertainment announced a new publishing agreement and officially delayed it, as was already speculated. This doesn't come as necessarily a huge surprise, but it has now been pushed into early 2023. It sounds like it will release between January and March, so not really a major delay, but still unfortunate for those hoping to play Atomic Heart this year, myself included. I do think that this game looks absolutely fantastic. But this also appears to be the case for Stalker 2. Now, this game was already delayed into 2023, but right now, and this has yet to be confirmed, but reportedly Xbox has been sending pre-order cancellation messages to fans stating that it's been postponed to an unconfirmed date. Now again, I'd say this is a very, very good looking game, and I know some fans will be definitely disappointed by this, but what's happening here is also very reasonable. GSC is a studio that was originally located in Ukraine until what happened earlier this year, so they've had some very legitimate issues developing this game. So a very understandable situation, all things considered. And I would just kind of expect a release date for Stalker 2 to be more or less fluid. I wouldn't pin a release date on this game until they're absolutely sure, hence the unconfirmed date as we're talking about today. It could possibly release early next year, or it could be a little further out. We'll just have to kind of wait and see. But considering what's happening, I just kind of say sit tight and be patient. Now, we do also have some good news as well, as they did confirm 2 more 2022 Day 1 games. The first of which is for Gungrave Gore, releasing on November 22nd. Now, Gungrave Gore is a rather interesting title. This is actually a sequel to an older PlayStation 2 game, and based on the gameplay that we've seen so far, it looks like it could actually be a fun third-person action game. I have seen some longtime fans be very excited for its new installment, and I can see why after seeing some of the gameplay. And while I've never really played the original, the fact that this game is coming to Game Pass day one, yeah, I might have to give this game a try. Maybe it'll surprise me, but again, I think that it looks pretty fun based on the gameplay we've seen so far, and hopefully that will translate to its full release. However, one other franchise is coming to Game Pass, as it was confirmed that Football Manager 2023 will launch again into Xbox Game Pass on November 8th. As you're seeing, that November month is already building up with a couple of these releases, and this is another franchise that a lot of people do really enjoy. Obviously, football or soccer, depending on where you live, is massively popular worldwide, and by getting a title like this into Game Pass will immensely be enjoyed for those fans out there. All in all, though, despite the delays, Game Pass does look very busy throughout the rest of the year with games like Persona 5, you have High on Life, Scorn, A Plague Tale Requiem, then you also have games like Gungrave Gore, Football Manager 2023, and the list just kind of goes on and on. There does seem to be quite a few games to look forward to if you're subscribed in 2022. Let's go and get into the poll of the day, though, and I do know that this video is getting a little long by this point, so I'll try to keep this short. But I asked you all, have you ever bought a special edition console despite already owning the standard version? And as you can see here, most of you all have not, with 81% of you saying no, but still 17% of you did say that yes, you have bought a special edition console despite already owning the standard version. And that's one of the reasons that, you know, these companies, they like to make these special editions. There will be some people out there that double dips. I mean, that's almost 1 out of every 5 people. Not quite, but almost 1 out of every 5 people that will purchase another console for that special edition. So yes, these console manufacturers, they know that, and that's one of the reasons that they keep making this. Now, it also entices completely new customers. That's obviously a part of their plan, but you know, it works 2 ways here. Now, I will say for myself, I have actually never bought a special edition console. Surprisingly, actually, I am a big collector. I mean, I have statues like all over the place. I do love collecting things, but for some reason, I just never really did that when it came to consoles. I mean, there's been some special editions that's come out in the past that I've really been enticed by. The Xbox 360 Gears of War console, that one always really stood out to me. And then yesterday with the Pokemon Switch OLED, I really liked that one. But yeah, again, I just never really jumped in to buy one of these consoles. Nonetheless, if you do like to buy these special editions, maybe you like to collect them, or maybe you use both, you know, by all means, that's perfectly fine. I was just kind of curious on how many people actually do double dip on these consoles. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.